Hello and welcome back to the studio, you most awesome creative friend. I'm so glad you could join me today for another episode in the Alternatives to Yupo for Alcohol Inks series. Today it's episode number 7, Brass Blanks and a Bezel. We're going to look at different ways to create brass blanks and one bezel. So these are the supplies that you need. They're basically the same supplies that you need for all of these projects. Take a quick look at those. If you have any questions on what any of those are, let me know. And here we're going to move straight on to our first project. These actually came out of me just playing around with some inks, and I thought that they produced a really cool effect. So I'm glad that I can share this with you, and I hope that you find this effect as cool as I did. So I started out with just plopping some ink down on the surface of the brass blank. I'm using 1-inch brass blanks for all of these, and they do have a small hole drilled at the top. And then I dripped some pinata brass over the top. And as these dry, I am using an awl to kind of spread the ink around to the edges. And now I'm just taking a little piece of paper towel, and I'm dabbing some of that pinata brass off because the brass kind of took over the blank. Now, I thought about stopping here because that's actually a pretty cool effect. But no, never one to be satisfied with the basic. I had to keep pushing it. So I added another blob of Stream. I'm actually using Stream and Fiesta for this. So I added another drip of Stream, and now I'm introducing some 91% alcohol just to get some movement going, and also because the Stream came out really dark on the blank and I wanted to lighten it up. So by adding a drip of the 91% alcohol, you can really lighten your inks up and get a lot more variation in the color. So that's what I did. And it reactivated the brass, so I'm just going back over that and kind of spreading the brass all over the top of the Stream again. And I wish that my light hadn't been so bright for this, because as you can tell as I move around while I do this, that you're not getting the full effect all the time because the light is so bright. But this is so cool, and it looks almost like some of the blanks that I did that I'm not showing in the video actually looked like star formations or those horoscope different pieces you can buy with the horoscope formations. I'm not sure what they're called, but they turned out really neat. So I'm just doing about half the blank in Stream, and a lot of this is waiting for the ink to dry. In fact, here I pull out my dryer and I'm just doing it on the very lowest setting because I'm not trying to blow the ink around. I'm just trying to dry the ink. So we're going to put a couple drops of Fiesta, and I apologize. I don't know why the camera goes in and out of focus throughout this video. I know it has something to do with my new phone, but I can't figure out yet what is going on. So be a little bit patient with me, please. I am trying to figure it out, and I do notice that it's happening. But I'm taking the other half of the blank, and I've covered that with the Fiesta. I put a couple drops of the Fiesta and then a drop of the 91% on there. And I'm moving it around with the awl. And basically, once I've got the Fiesta moved around on the blank, I'm mostly moving the brass around on top of it so that I don't get a big blob of brass in one spot and no brass in another spot. And I did leave that, you can see that stripe of brass running through kind of the center. It's off to the right a little bit. And I did leave that there on purpose. So here's the other blank that I worked on, one of the other blanks that I worked on. And I went ahead and covered them with UV resin and stuck them under the lights. And look at how neat these look. I think that these are fantastic and would be really great on a bracelet, or would make neat earrings, or even a pendant on a necklace. I can see these with a brass chain and then some beads that match the alcohol ink colors. I just think that those turned out gorgeous. I really am happy with the way that those ended up. And here's another bezel that I did that we're going to get into now. But all we do is take the foam applicator and put some drops of color on there. I chose Botanical. And I'm just quickly going over the silver bezel and turning it green. If you wanted it to be more opaque, you could take some Snow Cap White, the mixative, and you could go over the bezel with that first and then do the Botanical, and it would be much more opaque. The Botanical would be much darker on there. But I wasn't worried about it since I'm just demonstrating this for you guys. So I set that aside to dry, and that's really the only time we'll use the foam applicator. And it's important to note that I did use foam instead of felt. I usually use felt for most of these things. So the last part was just me dripping some ink on a piece of photo paper that I had punched out to fit inside my bezel. And I let that dry, and now I'm just drawing a simple flower on the photo paper just to give it a little bit more interest. Cute little flower that it is. Very simple project, and these would make cute earrings or a cute necklace. Very cute. So I'm putting some UV resin in to fill the bezel. And it's important to note that I did glue this photo paper to the inside of the bezel before I drew the flower on there. You do want to glue that down. And unfortunately, when I put it under the light, I didn't realize that there's an air bubble. So you can really see the air bubble pop up in this bezel, see it down toward the bottom. But I thought that that was such a cute little project. If the camera will focus. I think that that's such a cute little project, and that would make a darling pair of earrings or a cute little pendant. So now let's look at some Enamel Accents, also by Ranger. This is the white. It comes in white and black, and I'm using the white. And I've got the 1-inch brass round out again with the hole drilled in the top. And I'm just using these Enamel Accents to go over one of the blanks. It's a very good way to do a really opaque layer of white on there. And when it dries, it kind of self-domes. Oh, get some air bubbles out. But it kind of self-domes, so it really creates a nice effect. So we're going to take the other 1-inch round, and we're going to use Ranger's Snow Cap Mixative on there, just as a different way to show you how to do this in case you don't have Enamel Accents. And now that those have totally dried, I let them dry overnight, I'm adding the pearl alcohol inks on here. And in trying to drag I think it was a little hair that had gotten in there, I decided, oh, I can make lines in this. So I decided to make some quick lines just to give it some texture and some more added interest. And I let that dry, most of the way, not all the way. And now I'm just adding some more color. And it does cover up some of the texture, but I'm a firm believer that if the texture is under there, you're going to see it here in bits and pieces. So I'm a firm believer of creating texture, even if you think it's going to completely be covered up, because it doesn't. Texture never gets completely covered up. So now we're working on the piece that I had put the Enamel Accents on. And I'm just dripping some colors of alcohol ink, and then see how dark they are? So I'm dripping some 91% on there to kind of break the color up and to get the color moving. And it was taking forever to dry. So I got my dryer out and am not trying to create a wispy effect at all. I'm just trying to dry the ink a little bit. So we're going to add a little more yellow since the green kind of took over. And this green did show up a lot darker because it's actually a really light green, believe it or not. That's limeade. And so if you're familiar with that color, you know it's a light color, but it took over on this blank. So I added some more isopropyl, and now we're working back and forth between the two blanks. So I'm just adding some more of the pearl. And remember, this is the blank that has the Snow Cap Mixative on it. The blank on the left is the one that has the Enamel Accents on it. So let's give it a shot of pink, because everybody knows I never think pink is a bad idea. Pink is always a good idea. Bling and pink. So we're going to wait for those to dry down just a little bit. And see, you can still see some of the texture toward the top of that blank. It never really goes away. So let's add a little more mixative, and now we're going to add some stream. I think one of my favorite color combinations is stream and fiesta, or stream and pink. So let's put it on an index card and cover it with some UV resin. I just like the dimension that the resin adds. And on this one, I'm adding some gold flake. And it sets really nicely down in that resin. So I'm going to take a toothpick and I'm just going to poke it down in so it's not hanging over the top of the resin. It's not poking out at all. And that way the resin just protects the flake, and the flake isn't going to come off at all because it's covered with resin. Add a few more little flakes of the gold. There. Looks pretty good. So let's stick that under the lights. And voila, through the magic of video, it's finished. And didn't that one turn out beautifully if you can see it at all? Jeez. I got to work on the focusing. But now you can see it more clearly, and I just think that that turned out beautifully. Really full of dimension. So here's the green and yellow blank done on the Enamel Accents. And I'm using teak wood, and I'm drawing a tree branch on there, kind of a tree trunk and a branch. And next I'm going to take Poppy Field and dab a little bit of the color off on my index card. And then using my micro applicator, just dab a whole bunch of leaves all over the place. I hope you are having a stupendous week. I normally don't post a video midweek, but I had a little bit of extra time, so I decided, why not? I would go ahead and share this with you guys. It normally takes me a full week to get a video together, but I was on my groove this week, so I wanted to go ahead and post it for you guys rather than wait till this weekend. I still will have a video coming this weekend, so you can be expecting that. So let's throw this one under the lights. And it's finished. And this one I had a really hard time getting a clear shot of, but here in just a minute we'll take a better look at it. And I hope that you enjoyed my quick little video for you guys. I'm glad that you joined me as always. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I'm always thrilled to hear from you guys. There's a better picture. I hope you have a stupendous rest of your week, and I will see you this weekend. Be creative. Take care. Bye.